A flight that was never recorded. A flight that never officially existed. And yet, on that day, it took off. It was seen in the sky. And then it disappeared from radar, from records, and from reality itself. But even now, there are people who claim they saw it. Some say they saw a low-flying aircraft cutting through the clouds. Others say the sky itself shifted as it passed. Not clouds moving, but the sky distorting, like cracked glass, rippling. And then there are those who tried to record it. They filmed it on their phones. But when they checked, there was nothing, just an empty sky. Something was there, clearly, but nothing remained. So what really happened on that day? Was it real, or something that never belonged to our world? That day, the airport was completely normal. Passengers moved with purpose. Announcements echoed through the terminal, calm and routine. A parent hurried toward the gate, holding a child. A man checked his documents. One last time, someone by the window stared out toward the runway. Some believed this flight was the beginning of something new. Others, just another trip. Nothing felt wrong. Nothing felt unusual. It was just another day, just another flight. Flight GE423. To everyone there, it was no different from any other plane. The crew smiled. The captain spoke calmly, announcing departure readiness. The weather, clear. Visibility, perfect. There was no reason to delay. Everything was exactly as it should be. And yet, this is how these stories always begin. Not with chaos, but with something perfectly normal. Shortly after takeoff, everything was normal. The captain maintained communication, reporting altitude and course. Altitude steady, no issues en route. The controller responded, as usual. This was routine, something they did every day. No one thought twice about it, until the moment everything stopped. GE423, respond, silence. GE423, report status, nothing. The controller adjusted his headset, checked the frequency, waited. Still, no response. And then, just 1 second before the signal was lost, a faint voice, barely audible, came through. The captain. This is not the sky we know. And then, nothing. Complete silence. The signal never returned. The radar operator never took his eyes off the screen. There it was. A single point, GE423, moving steadily. Everything looked normal. No sudden turns, no irregular movement, just another aircraft following its path. And then it was gone. Not fading, not drifting. Gone. As if someone had erased it. The operator checked again. Secondary radar, backup systems, alternate frequencies, nothing, no trace. Every other aircraft was still there, still visible, still moving, but GE423 was nowhere. It didn't change direction. It didn't descend. It didn't crash. It simply ceased to exist. Search operations began immediately. Rescue teams were deployed across the entire flight path. Ocean, mountains, remote terrain. Every possible location was checked, but the results never changed. No debris, no signal, no survivors, nothing. It was as if there had never been an aircraft there at all. Some of the search crew later said it was too clean, not like a crash site, more like nothing ever happened there. That statement stayed with them. As the search continued, something else began to surface: stories. At first, they were dismissed. In cases like this, there are always rumors. People mistaking shadows. People adding details after hearing the news. So, the early reports were ignored. But over time, something changed. People who had never met in completely different locations began describing the same thing. A low-flying aircraft, almost silent, too quiet to be normal. And the light, something was off. The details started to align. One witness, after hesitating, said something different. It wasn't the clouds. It was the sky. He paused, then continued. It didn't split. It cracked, as if the sky itself was shifting, distorting, like a thin surface being pushed from the other side. People laughed at first. It sounded impossible. But what came next changed that. Right after the aircraft passed, every clock in the area shifted. Watches, wall clocks, car dashboards, different devices, different systems, yet all affected the same way. Time had slipped, not by much, but enough to be noticed. And more importantly, it happened at the same moment. Witnesses described it the same way. It felt like time moved, not forward, not backward, just out of place. Days later, a new report emerged. This one was different, more detailed, more grounded. A small regional airport. A night shift worker came forward. I saw it. His voice was steady, but his expression was not. Normal approach, stable speed, perfect landing. Everything looked correct, too correct. And that's what made it wrong. There was one thing: the logo. On the side of the aircraft, it wasn't current. It belonged to an airline that had gone bankrupt decades ago, a name that no longer existed. And yet, it was there, clear, sharp, as if it had just been painted. Then, something even stranger. The aircraft stopped, engines running, but the doors never opened. No crew, no passengers, no movement. No one got off, no one came out. It just sat there as if waiting or watching. I couldn't see anyone, but I could feel it. Something inside was looking back. Minutes passed. Then, the aircraft took off again. No boarding, no departure, as if it had never been there. Investigators checked everything: landing logs, takeoff records, air traffic communication. Every entry, every timestamp, everything was reviewed again and again. But the result never changed. There was no record, no landing, no takeoff, no aircraft, nothing. According to official data, that plane was never there. But the investigation didn't stop. They focused on the worker's statement, what he saw, who he saw. His memory was precise. A man in a gray suit, a woman slightly tilted in her seat, another figure in what looked like military clothing. They weren't moving, not even slightly. No gestures, no reactions, just facing forward, still. Completely still, as if frozen. Investigators compared these descriptions to old records, and what they found changed everything. The faces matched people who had disappeared in past aviation incidents, people who were already gone, people who should not have been there, and yet they were, sitting inside that aircraft, silent, unmoving, watching. At that moment, a thought began to spread among the investigators. What if that aircraft wasn't carrying passengers, but something that had already disappeared? The investigation continued. Deeper than before. Airline archives, civil aviation databases, military radar logs, even restricted records stored in sealed facilities were reviewed. Everything that could be checked was checked. Every document, every system, every possible source. But the conclusion never changed. Flight G E423 did not exist. No registration, no scheduled departure, no passenger list, no maintenance history, nothing. Not a single trace of its existence anywhere. Some investigators began to question whether the number itself was even valid, whether it had ever been assigned to any flight at all. It was as if someone had gone through every record, every system, every layer of data, and erased it completely. But that explanation didn't sit right. Because while the records showed nothing, the evidence was still there. People had seen it. Someone had watched it land. And those inside had faces, recognizable ones. So, how could something leave behind so much and yet officially never exist? That contradiction became the center of the mystery in years past. Technology advanced. Cameras became part of everyday life. People no longer relied on memory. They recorded everything, every moment, every detail. So when it happened again, this time, it should have been different. Late at night, on a quiet highway, several drivers noticed something unusual. A plane flying too low, too quiet. Its movement unnatural. The light unstable, almost flickering. They reacted instantly. Phones came out, cameras turned on. They aimed at the sky. They captured it, or at least they believed they did, because later, when they reviewed the footage, there was nothing. No aircraft, no light, no sound, only an empty sky. But that wasn't the strangest part. The video had no visible cuts, no glitches, no signs of corruption, and yet there was a gap, a section of time that didn't belong. Several moments missing, not skipped, not cut, simply absent, as if whatever had been there had removed itself from being recorded, not hidden, not lost, erased cleanly. Just before the search was called off, one of the team members found something, partially buried among sand and debris, a wallet, old at first glance, worn edges, faded leather, but something was off. It was too intact, too clean, not what you would expect from something exposed for years, especially not in conditions like that. Then there was the smell, not mold, not salt water, but something unexpected. Fresh leather, like it had been made recently. Carefully, the wallet was opened. Inside, a man's identification, a photograph. The man in the image was staring straight ahead, expressionless, still, almost unnaturally still. Then, folded within, several bills. Currency, no longer in circulation, an older design. But when they checked the date, everything stopped. The year printed on those bills was the year after the incident, a time that had not yet arrived, when the plane disappeared, it shouldn't have existed. It couldn't. The wallet was secured, logged, prepared for documentation. But days later, there was no record, no report, no photograph, no storage entry, nothing. As if the wallet had followed the same path as the aircraft, gone without leaving a trace. Many explanations have been proposed. A system failure, a classified operation, a lost record, but none of them fit all the pieces. So people began to look beyond conventional answers. Some spoke of time. That at a certain point, something shifted. Not forward, not backward, but sideways. That the aircraft crossed into a moment that wasn't aligned with ours. Others suggested something different. Not time, but space. That the world is not as solid as we believe. That there are thin points. Places where reality is weaker. And on that day, G423 passed through one of them. But the most unsettling theory goes further. It suggests the plane never left. It never arrived. It never ended. Instead, it became trapped in a single moment, the moment of takeoff. Just as the wheels left the ground, frozen, but still moving, repeating over and over again, an endless ascent. No destination, no landing, only departure. And the people inside may still be there, unaware, unmoving, reliving the same second again and again and again. So, this is not just a missing flight. It is something that cannot be recorded, something that resists explanation, something that remains just beyond reach. There was something in the sky that day. People saw it. Some even held on to its trace. But nothing can prove it. No record, no evidence, no closure. So the case was never solved. It wasn't closed. It wasn't forgotten. It was simply left behind. And some believe, what if that aircraft never disappeared? What if it's still out there, caught in a state of endless departure, rising again and again, never arriving? And if that's true, then maybe right now, above your head, that aircraft is passing by. A flight that was never recorded, but still, it flies.
If this story left you wondering, the next one is waiting for you. Subscribe and stay with us.